She stood at my door with the same face that had watched me leave 10 years ago. Older now. Tired. The kind of tired that settles into your bones when life finally hands you the bill for everything you thought you'd never pay. My mother, Sandra Collins, was standing on my porch with a suitcase at her feet and desperation in her eyes. "Mia, please. They're putting me in a nursing home. I have nowhere else to go." I looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time in a decade. And I said the same words she had said to me when I was 18 years old, standing on this same kind of porch, with a single bag and no idea how I would survive. "You're an adult now." Then I closed the door. "Before I tell you how we got here, tell me, where are you listening from? Drop your location so I know I'm not alone." I was 18 when I learned what conditional love really meant. It was my birthday, May 15th. I remember because the morning had started with hope. Stupid, naive hope that maybe this year would be different. Maybe there would be a cake. Maybe there would be a card. Maybe my mother would look at me the way she looked at my sister and say something that didn't feel like a criticism wrapped in a compliment. Instead, I came downstairs to find a suitcase by the front door. My suitcase. My mother was sitting at the kitchen table, drinking coffee, flipping through a magazine like it was any other Tuesday. "What's going on?" I asked. She didn't look up. "You're 18 now, Mia. Legally an adult. It's time for you to figure out your own life." I stood there, frozen, trying to process words that didn't make sense. "You're kicking me out." "I'm not kicking you out. I'm giving you the gift of independence." She turned a page. "You should be grateful. Most parents don't push their children to grow. But I'm still in high school. I graduate in 3 weeks. Then you have 3 weeks to figure out your living situation. The world doesn't wait for convenient timing, Mia." I looked around the kitchen, the same kitchen where I had eaten breakfast every morning for 18 years. The same walls, the same table, the same woman who had given birth to me but never quite managed to love me. What about Brooke, my sister? 24 years old, still living at home. No job, no plans, no ambition beyond finding the next party and the next boyfriend to fund it. My mother's face softened at the mention of her name. "Brooke is different. She's sensitive. She needs more time to find herself. And I don't. You're stronger than her, Mia. You always have been. You'll be fine." Strong. The word she used whenever she wanted to justify treating me differently. Whenever she wanted to excuse the inexcusable. "You're strong so you don't need a birthday party. You're strong so you can handle me missing your school play. You're strong so you won't mind that I forgot to pick you up from practice." Strong wasn't a compliment in my family. It was a sentence. A justification for neglect dressed up as praise. I picked up the suitcase. It was light because there wasn't much inside. Few clothes, some books, a photo of my father from before he became a ghost in his own house. "Can I at least stay until graduation?" My mother finally looked up. Her eyes were flat, disinterested, already moving past this conversation to whatever came next. "The door locks at 9 tonight. I'd suggest you start making calls." I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I had learned long ago that tears didn't work on Sandra Collins. They just annoyed her. I walked out of that house with $17 in my pocket, a suitcase full of nothing, and absolutely no idea what I was going to do. But I knew one thing for certain. I would never ask her for anything again. The first 3 months were the hardest. I couch-surfed with friends until their parents got uncomfortable. I slept in my car when I had no other options. A 1998 Honda Civic with broken air conditioning and a backseat that smelled like mildew. I worked 3 jobs. Morning shift at a diner. Afternoon shift at a grocery store. Night shift stocking shelves at a warehouse. I slept in 2-hour increments, ate whatever was cheapest, and learned that exhaustion has a taste. Metallic, bitter, like blood in the back of your throat. I graduated high school. Nobody came. Brooke posted Instagram stories from a pool party that day. My mother was in the background of one photo, laughing, holding a drink, looking happier than I had ever seen her. I watched that story 17 times. Then I deleted Instagram from my phone. Community college was my lifeline. I enrolled in business classes, working around my job schedules, studying in parking lots and break rooms and anywhere I could find 10 minutes of quiet. My grades weren't perfect, but they were good enough. Good enough for scholarships. Good enough for transfers. Good enough to keep climbing. By 21, I had my associate's degree and a full-time job at a marketing firm. Entry level. Terrible pay. But it was a desk. It was air conditioning. It was a future. By 23, I was a marketing coordinator. By 25, a manager. By 27, I had saved enough to start my own consulting business. Nobody helped me. Nobody guided me. Nobody called on my birthday or asked how I was doing or offered a safety net when I stumbled. I built everything myself. Brick by brick. Scar by scar. And through all of it, I never once reached out to my mother. Kept track of them though. Not closely, just enough to know the shape of their lives. Brooke never moved out. At 26, she was still in her childhood bedroom, still unemployed, still cycling through boyfriends who lasted 3 months at most. My mother supported her completely. Rent-free living, spending money, a car that was newer than anything I had ever driven. My father got sick when I was 22. Cancer. The slow kind that drains everything. Money, energy, hope. Before it finally takes what's left, I found out through a cousin's Facebook post. Not a phone call. Not a message. A public status update that read, "Praying for Uncle Richard. Stay strong, Collins family." I almost reached out then. Almost. But then I remembered standing on that porch with my suitcase, and I couldn't make my fingers dial the number. He died when I was 24. I didn't go to the funeral. I couldn't afford the flight, and I couldn't afford the emotional cost of seeing my mother pretend I didn't exist. I grieved alone in my small apartment, looking at the one photo I had of him, the one from before, when his eyes still had light in them. "I'm sorry, Dad," I whispered. "I'm sorry I wasn't there." But I think he understood. He had spent 30 years being overlooked by the same woman. He knew what it meant to be invisible in that house. After my father died, things changed for them, though I only learned the details later. Richard Collins had been the quiet engine keeping everything running. His pension, his savings, his careful management of the family finances, all of it had masked my mother's spending habits and Brooke's complete lack of contribution. Without him, the truth became visible. The house went into debt. Credit cards maxed out. Savings depleted. My mother had never worked a day in her life and had no intention of starting. Brooke had no skills, no resume, no ability to survive outside the bubble she had always lived in. They sold the furniture first, then the second car. Then they started borrowing from relatives who slowly stopped answering the phone. I heard about it in pieces. Fragments of gossip from distant cousins, social media posts that revealed more than intended, the slow disappearance of Brooke's glamorous photos replaced by nothing at all. I didn't feel satisfaction. Not exactly. I felt something quieter. Something like recognition. This is what happens, I thought. This is what happens when you build a house on sand and expect it to stand forever. The knock came on a Tuesday evening. I was 28 years old. I had just closed a deal that would double my company's revenue. I was cooking dinner in my own kitchen, in my own house, wearing comfortable clothes and listening to music that made me happy. Life wasn't perfect, but it was mine. Every inch of it earned. Then I heard the knock. 3 soft taps. Hesitant. Almost apologetic. I opened the door, expecting a delivery driver or a neighbor. Instead, I found my mother. She looked like a stranger wearing a familiar face. The Sandra Collins I remembered had been polished, put together, always dressed like she was expecting company. This version was different. Gray hair she hadn't bothered to dye. Clothes that didn't quite fit. A suitcase at her feet. Cheap, battered, nothing like the designer luggage she used to insist on. But her eyes were the same. That calculating look, always assessing, always measuring what she could get. "Mia." Her voice cracked on my name. "I know I don't have the right to be here." "You're right. You don't." She flinched. I watched her recalibrate, adjust her approach, try a different angle. "I know things weren't always easy between us. Easy. I leaned against the doorframe. Is that what you call it? Things weren't easy. I made mistakes. I know that now. Do you? Do you know what it's like to be 18 years old with nowhere to sleep? Do you know what it's like to work 70 hours a week just to afford ramen and rent? Do you know what it's like to find out your father is dying from a Facebook post? Tears welled in her eyes. Once those tears might have moved me. Now they just looked like another tool she was reaching for. I'm sorry, Mia. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize. What are you doing here, Mom? She took a shaky breath. Brooke met someone. Man. He convinced her to sell the house. She said she'd take care of me, that we'd all live together, but then what? She left. Took the money and left. I haven't heard from her in 3 months. The tears spilled over now, running down cheeks that had aged more in 10 years than they should have. Have nothing, Mia. No money. No home. No one will take my calls anymore. They're putting me in a state nursing home next week unless I can find somewhere else to go. I absorbed this information calmly. Brooke, the golden child, the sensitive one, the one who needed more time, had taken everything and disappeared. There was a poetic justice in it that I couldn't ignore. So you came here, I said. To the daughter you threw out like garbage. I didn't throw you out. You gave me a suitcase on my 18th birthday and told me the door locks at 9. What would you call that? I was trying to help you grow. You were trying to get rid of me so you could focus on Brooke. Let's at least be honest with each other, Mom. After all this time. She was silent. The tears kept falling. I know you hate me, she whispered. I know I deserve it. But please, Mia. I'm begging you. I have nowhere else to go. I looked at my mother, this woman who had shaped so much of my pain, who had taught me that love was conditional and security was an illusion. I looked at her standing on my porch, desperate, broken, finally understanding what it meant to have no one. And I felt something I didn't expect. Not anger. Not satisfaction. Clarity. I finally understood what she had done to me. Not in the abstract way I had understood it for years, but viscerally, completely. She had stood in front of her teenage daughter and chosen to make her homeless. She had watched me struggle from a distance and never once reached out. She had replaced me with a daughter who ultimately did the same thing to her. She had created this moment. Every choice she made had led directly here, to this porch, to this conversation. And now she wanted me to save her from the consequences of those choices. I remember standing on our porch, I said. 18 years old. Suitcase in my hand. I asked you if I could stay until graduation. 3 more weeks. That's all I needed. Mia. You told me the door locks at 9. You told me to start making calls. You told me I was an adult and I needed to figure it out. I was wrong. You told me I was strong. That I didn't need help. That Brooke was sensitive, but I could handle anything. I straightened. Looked her directly in the eyes. You were right about one thing, Mom. I'm strong. Strong enough to build a life from nothing. Strong enough to survive everything you put me through. Strong enough to stand here right now and not feel guilty about what I'm going to say. Her face crumpled. She knew what was coming. You're an adult now, I said. Figure it out. And I closed the door. I stood in my hallway for a long time after that. I could hear her on the other side. Crying at first, then pleading, then just standing there in silence. Eventually, I heard the wheels of her suitcase rolling away down the driveway. Car door. An engine. I poured myself a glass of wine and sat on my couch, waiting to feel something. Guilt maybe. Regret. The crushing weight of turning away my own mother. Instead I felt light. For 10 years I had carried the weight of that night. The suitcase, the locked door, the casual cruelty of being discarded. I had built my entire life as a response to that moment, proving over and over that I was worth something even though my own mother hadn't thought so. Now that weight was gone. Not because I had taken revenge. Not because I had punished her. But because I had finally shown both of us that her opinion of me no longer mattered. That I didn't need her approval or her love or even her acknowledgement. I was free. 3 months later, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. It was a social worker from the state nursing facility. My mother had listed me as her emergency contact, the only family member who hadn't blocked her number. "Ms. Collins, your mother has been asking for you." "I see. She's not doing well. The transition has been difficult. She's refused to participate in activities, barely eats. The staff is concerned about her mental state." I listened to this information without reacting. The social worker probably expected me to gasp, to promise I'd visit, to rush to my mother's bedside. "Thank you for letting me know," I said. Will you be coming to see her?" Thought about it. Really thought about it. My mother was 70 years old. She had maybe 10-15 years left if she was lucky. She would spend them in a facility surrounded by strangers, wondering why the daughter she favored had abandoned her, and why the daughter she discarded wouldn't save her. She would have a lot of time to think. "No," I said. "I don't think I will. Ms. Collins, I understand family situations can be complicated, but you're right. They can be. And this one is very simple. My mother made her choices. Now she's living with them. That's not cruelty. That's consequences." Hung up. A year passed. My business grew. Hired a team. I moved into a bigger office. I started dating a man named Daniel. Kind, patient, someone who had also built himself from difficult beginnings. He understood without needing everything explained. I told him about my mother one night, after we'd been together for 6 months. I told him about the suitcase, the porch, the years of struggling, the knock on my door. "Do you regret it?" he asked. Turning her away. I considered the question carefully. I regret that it was necessary. I regret that she put me in a position where that was the only choice that made sense. But the act itself. I shook my head. No. I don't regret protecting my peace. What if she dies? What if you never reconcile? Then she dies knowing exactly why. And I live knowing I didn't betray myself to make her comfortable. Daniel was quiet for a moment. Then he took my hand. "You're the strongest person I've ever met." I smiled sadly. Funny. That's what she always said too. The difference is I mean it as a compliment. She meant it as an excuse. I looked at this man, this person who saw me clearly, who loved me not for what I could provide but for who I was. "I know," I said. "That's why I'm here with you." Brooke surfaced eventually. She found me on social media, my business account, the one I kept public for professional reasons. A message appeared one morning, casual, almost cheerful. "Hey sis. Long time no talk. Saw you're doing amazing. So proud of you. I'm back in town, would love to catch up. Maybe you could help me get back on my feet. Family helps family, right?" Smiling face with smiling eyes. I read the message 3 times. Family helps family. From the woman who had watched me get thrown out without saying a word. Who had enjoyed our mother's favoritism for years without ever questioning it. Who had stolen what was left and abandoned the woman who had given her everything. Family helps family. I typed a response, then deleted it. Typed another, deleted that too. Finally I settled on something simple. "I don't have a sister." Then I blocked her. Sometimes late at night I think about the girl I used to be. Tired. Standing on a porch with everything she owned in one suitcase, wondering what she had done to deserve being thrown away. I wish I could go back and tell her something. Not that it would get better, that's too simple, too clean. Life doesn't get better. It gets different. It gets harder in some ways and easier in others. The pain doesn't disappear. It just transforms into something you can carry. I would tell her this. You will survive this. Not because you're strong. That word has been weaponized against you too many times to mean anything good. But because you're stubborn. Because you refuse to let them be right about you. Because somewhere deep inside, beneath all the doubt and the fear and the loneliness, there's a voice that whispers, "You deserve more than this." Listen to that voice. Follow it. Let it guide you out of the darkness and into a life that belongs only to you. The people who were supposed to love you will fail you. That's not your fault. It was never your fault. But what you build from the wreckage, that's yours. Every brick, every scar, every triumph. Yours. And one day, when the woman who threw you away comes crawling back, you'll be strong enough to do what she never could. Protect yourself. Last month I got a letter. Not from my mother. From the nursing home. Official letterhead, formal language. Sandra Collins had passed away in her sleep. There would be no funeral. She had requested cremation, no service. Her belongings, what little there were, had been donated. There was no will, no estate, nothing left to divide. The letter asked if I wanted her ashes. I sat with that question for a long time. This woman had given me life and then spent 18 years making me feel worthless for having it. She had taught me that love was earned, not given. That family was conditional. That being strong meant being alone. She had shaped me in ways I was still discovering. Some painful, some useful, all permanent. And now she was gone. I wrote back a simple response. Scatter them wherever is convenient. I have no preference. Then I closed the chapter. I don't know if there's an afterlife. I don't know if my mother found peace or faced judgment or simply ceased to exist. But I know this. I'm 30 years old. I have a business I built with my own hands. I have a man who loves me without conditions. I have a home that no one can take from me. I have a life that belongs to me. Every success, every failure, every quiet Sunday morning with coffee and sunlight. I am not the girl on the porch anymore. I am not the daughter who wasn't good enough. I am Mia Collins. I survived, built, became. And that's enough. That's more than enough. That's everything they said I'd never have. If you're out there, the forgotten one, the overlooked one, the one they called strong when they meant disposable, I want you to know something. You will get through this. Not around it. Not over it. Through it. And when you come out the other side, you'll realize something that took me 10 years to learn. The people who couldn't see your worth were never qualified to judge it. Their blindness was not your failure. Their cruelty was not your lesson to learn. You were always enough. You were always worthy. You were always deserving of love that didn't have conditions attached. And one day, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but one day, you'll stand in a life you built yourself and realize they can't hurt you anymore. 'Cause you don't need them anymore. And that's not revenge. That's freedom. If this story satisfies you somewhere deep, then subscribe to Revenge Avenue. The next story might feel as familiar as your own family.